The room went silent. In front of wealthy parents, luxury cars, and an elite school principal, a young boy was being humiliated, not for his behavior, but because his father was a janitor. They thought he didn't belong there. What they didn't know was that this boy carried a secret that would change everything before the end of the day. It was enrollment day at one of the most prestigious private schools in the city. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Parents wore designer clothes. Children carried brand-new backpacks and spoke with confidence. Then, quietly, a man arrived holding his son's hand. The boy was around 10 years old. His clothes were clean, but simple. His shoes were worn. His father wore a janitor's uniform. He stood straight, respectful, but clearly out of place. Whispers began immediately. Is he lost? Does he work here? The boy said nothing. He simply tightened his grip on his father's hand. Inside the main hall, parents were called one by one. When it was the boy's turn, a teacher looked at the paperwork, then at the father. Her smile faded. "Excuse me," she said, loudly enough for others to hear. "Are you sure this application is correct?" She paused. "This school is very expensive." Laughter echoed softly among a few parents. The father lowered his eyes. "Yes, ma'am," he replied calmly. "My son belongs here." The teacher sighed and waved toward the principal's office. The principal barely glanced at the documents. Instead, he stared at the father's uniform. "Sir," he said, "this institution has standards." The room grew quiet. "We cannot accept students whose families may struggle to keep up." The boy looked up. "My father works very hard," he said softly. A parent scoffed. "Hard work doesn't buy education," someone whispered. The principal stood. "I think it would be best if you leave." The father nodded. He gently squeezed his son's shoulder. "Wait here," he whispered. "I'll be right outside." The door closed behind his father. The boy remained standing. He didn't cry. He didn't argue. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a sealed envelope. "My father told me to give this to you," he said, handing it to the principal. The principal frowned. He opened the envelope. His face went pale. His hands began to shake. The room froze. The principal cleared his throat. This must be a mistake," he murmured. The letter explained everything. Years earlier, when the school was near bankruptcy, an anonymous donor had saved it. That donor had one condition: his identity would remain secret. And one day, his son would attend this school to see how people were treated when no one knew who they were. The room fell into complete silence. The principal stood abruptly. "Where is your father?" he asked. The father was called back inside. The principal lowered his head. "Sir, I owe you an apology." The teacher stepped back, stunned. Parents avoided eye contact. The father looked at his son, not with pride, but with quiet dignity. "I never wanted special treatment," he said. "Only respect." The boy spoke one last time. "My father cleans floors," he said, "but he taught me how to stand tall." The meeting ended without applause, without victory speeches. Parents left the room one by one, in silence. The following morning, the school's board of directors was urgently convened. For the first time in years, prestige was no longer enough to silence the truth. The report was clear. The events of the previous day, public humiliation, social discrimination, and a failure to uphold educational values, had been documented. Witnesses, recordings, evidence. The principal was removed from his position. The teacher received an official disciplinary sanction and was removed from the admissions process. But the most serious consequence was not administrative. It was moral. The anonymous donor, the father, immediately withdrew his future financial support. Not the money already given, but everything that had kept the school at the top, the partnerships, the recommendations, the silent support. Within weeks, the school's ranking fell. Families withdrew their children. Other schools now refused to collaborate. The institution survived, but it was never untouchable again. The boy, meanwhile, was accepted into the school. Not as a privilege, not as an exception, but as a living test. A new charter was posted at the entrance. Here, no child is judged by their parents' profession. From that day on, every new student had to be admitted without staff knowing the parents' occupations. The father continued to wear his uniform, not out of obligation, but by choice. So we never forget where we see the world from, he used to say. And for a long time, every time a visitor entered that school, they asked themselves, "Am I here to be admired or to be worthy?" Final moral. Some institutions fall because they fail. Others survive by learning. The true test of character is never money. It is how we treat those who do not need it to be human. If this story made you pause, don't let it end here. Like this video to support stories that remind us who we should be, even when no one is watching. Subscribe for more real-life inspired stories about dignity, respect, and hidden strength. And before you scroll away, ask yourself, when no one knows who you are, how do you treat others?